Hi, my name is Dave Kravitt. I'm the Sales and Marketing Executive for Precision Solutions Group. We are a solution services organization focused on mission-critical enterprise software. We've worked in this niche for more than 25 years, and we worked on quite a few ERP solutions. Today, we would like to discuss a technology deployment called Two-Tier ERP. So for today's agenda, we want to first take a look at a historical perspective of one-tier ERP. Then we'll talk about the new technology, two-tier ERP, which has developed because of so many other technologies in implementation, integration, as well as new ERP solutions. We will discuss both the benefits and the drawbacks of each. We'll provide some examples of the rationale for two-tier ERP, and then we'll discuss some conclusions from this discussion. So it wasn't too long ago that a single ERP system across the entire enterprise was the standard practice. It was the aim to get everyone on the same system. It was the ultimate solution for efficiency, we thought. At least that's how SAP got to be such a powerhouse, convincing all the CFOs of these large and medium-sized corporations that common data across the enterprise was really a big deal. Integration would be less complicated with a single system of record, and it was also easier to deal with fewer vendors. But there are some drawbacks with this monolithic approach. Does one size fit all only deliver compromise and additional cost? Considering the major investment of time, money, and resources, when you think of the implementation costs, the license fees, the maintenance support revenues that are required forever, Tier 1 systems can also be highly complex to configure, and especially in environments that might not be consistent across business units. So if they're not consistent across business units and you have to then go and customize the solution, this is a path that you want to strongly understand the future implications of. So with this, do these solutions compromise an individual business unit's flexibility and efficiency, and maybe, in fact, their competitiveness? In terms of inflexibility, these solutions require businesses to adopt processes called industry standard, instead of the software supporting sometimes the uniquely competitive advantages within the software installed in these business units. It also may be overkill for smaller regional locations or acquisitions of smaller companies. So what is two-tier ERP? Bottom line, it is a technology deployment strategy. It's often thought of for large multinational enterprises whose divisions have diverse requirements such as business processes or product ranges or markets. But costs are coming down on all the components required for two-tier ERP, from the two-tier ERP license fees to the integration costs to all the components. So since costs are coming down, it's becoming much more appropriate for medium-sized companies as well. First tier, and I don't mean the tier 1 level ERPs like SAP or Oracle, but in this case, the first tier of ERP in this model is for the corporate or central ERP, for core common processes between all of the business units. Typically, these will be in finance, corporate sales, or anything else that all the business units have in common. The second tier, or the surrounding ERP or ERPs, could be plural there, is for each set of business units with unique needs. Tier 2 could also be for acquired businesses with their own ERP that doesn't fit in with any of the current ERPs within the organization. So again, what is two-tier ERP? Well, another view of this is front-end system and back-end system. So the front end is an agile system for the day-to-day operations. It's frequently easier to use with a more modern user interface and user experience, and they're tailored to the business unit's needs. It may be on premises or it may be in the cloud. And quite a few tier 2 players like Epicor or Batchmaster can be interfaced with SAP or other tier 1 software products for a 2-tier deployment. The back-end system, though, that processes the data from the front end. It could be consolidating finances, invoicing sales orders, business reporting, performing executive level functions. And supporting all of the front-end ERP systems is from a common process perspective. So this is what the 2-tier ERP looks like graphically, with the tier 1 first tier in the center, and that is typically a tier 1 level software, and then surrounded by other ERP applications, usually of the tier 2 nature. So they're a little smaller than what would be in the center. Now this happens to depict it geographically, but they could just as easily be different markets served, or different different markets served, or just otherwise, other differences in the business units themselves. So let's look at some of the benefits of 2-tier ERP. They're usually purchased for specific business type. In manufacturing, it could be discrete manufacturing or process manufacturing, could be mixed mode, but it usually eliminates the need for that modification of the monolithic 1-tier ERP. Front-end systems are more user-friendly, are easier to use. They perform tasks more quickly and efficiently. They reduce the time and effort required to improve overall productivity. These front-end systems, they're easier to configure, meeting specific needs, making it easier to adapt to changing needs and processes. 2-tiered systems are often more easily scaled up and down to meet changing business needs, especially if they're cloud-based. Backend is used again to store and process sensitive data in a secure environment. Remember, these are the systems of record. So the financial information, customer information, and things that all the business units have in common. In terms of cost, the 2-tier deployment is often more cost-effective, as it allows more specialized and tailored software for different business units to succeed. The overall cost is often lower because you're not installing these expensive tier 1 system licenses at all the business units, no matter what size they are. It allows local autonomy for taking responsibility and delivering results for individual businesses. It also allows you to meet local needs, be it language, currency, taxation. There's the greater agility and innovation with tier 2, as they're more easily customized if required and integrated compared to tier 1 ERP, bringing more competitive intellectual property. This approach to ERP saves money, since the tier 2 systems are less expensive and give smaller locations more control, flexibility, and agility in meeting their unique and local needs. There are some downsides. Some companies, IT organizations, demand more control at the corporate level. And obviously, if that is true, then the tier 2 is a non-starter. And obviously, since we are integrating multiple ERPs, there are additional integration requirements. Therefore, it is technologically more challenging. Although, as I said earlier, newer tools are available, making this much easier. Master data management is required because you need to pay diligent attention to it to minimize and eliminate data inconsistencies and data redundancies. You need to put standard data structures in place and ensure that all the business units adhere to these corporate standards. Also, the corporation, the corporate ERP, the corporate IT department may no longer be responsible for training or supporting all of the business units. And that can add to organizational complexity and sometimes organizational confusion. And of course, you're dealing with multiple vendors, which is more difficult. Let's take a look at some of the selection options for these two-tier systems. First of all, you could go with a laissez-faire attitude. Let the business units pick their own ERP, but that's not really recommended. You really want to have a more controlled process. You could have the corporation might provide a list of approved choices that they have already vetted. Or if they don't have choices that make sense for the business unit, then the corporate IT group and the business units can work together to select an ERP system appropriate for them. And then you get buy-in at both levels. And sometimes the ERP just comes with an acquisition, and you have to decide whether you're going to migrate that to one of the other ERPs or let it run on its own, integrated into the corporate or the tier 1 ERP. If we look at the rationale for some of these systems, some examples here. Maybe subsidiaries sell to different markets than the other entities. In our case, we have a multinational dairy producer, and they use SAP for their European offices, and they use Prism ERP for the United States. And they've been doing that for years. They are, of course, the Prism ERP uses the SAP financials back in Europe. How about if a division is based in a different country and needs local functionality? Well, we have a large adhesives manufacturer that uses double byte Prism ERP for a Japanese subsidiary, while the rest of the company uses a single byte SAP implementation. And actually, previously, a few years ago, it wasn't too long ago, that this same company actually used Prism ERP in the United States and SAP in Europe, similar to that dairy company we talked about a minute ago. But so all of the order taking and order fulfillment was accomplished with Prism ERP in the United States, but the order processing and all the financials that related to that were actually performed with SAP back in Europe. Sometimes the tier 1 software is cost prohibitive to install at all the business units. We have a multinational durable goods manufacturer that has grown significantly through acquisition, and they have a variety of ERP systems in different divisions. They have been able to rationalize some of them and move them to common ERPs, but they still have quite a few. They have a corporate system in place and to do all of the consolidation of a lot of information, including financial data, and they also employ automated AP processes there. So you could just have locations with specific needs for anything from manufacturing to supply chain management to specialized focus, to needing a specialized focus and in-depth functionality in certain areas. And finally, you could have the desire to roll out more modern software, such as software as a service, for some operations and keep the legacy system in place for back-end operations. And this could be a process over a period of time where you continually roll out modern software in the cloud for certain operations, slowly sort of pulling functionality off of the legacy system until eventually you are in a fully cloud-based system that is not dependent on legacy software. So here's a few questions that need to be asked. Does the corporate IT need to be in control of the ERP? And as I said before, this would be a showstopper. Are the tier 1 ERP license fees, for all the business units, more costly than the less expensive tier 2 at smaller units? Well, significant enhancements need to be made and supported at these business units. And are there wider benefits and long-term gains to be had with two-tier ERP? In terms of business processes, can one tier cover all the different processes without significant mods, or is two-tier functionality more desirable? Will two-tier provide better flexibility for making quicker and more accurate decisions in daily operations? Will two-tier enable business units to maintain that competitive edge that they have and their intellectual property? And finally, can the business groups be self-supportive in terms of training and software support staff? So just to see what role that PSGi may play in all of this, PSGi provides support and technical service for multiple ERP solutions. We have in the past and can in the future build integration between ERP tiers and also between ERP and other software products. We have performed and continue to perform ERP implementations as well as business process optimization services. And finally, we have put organizations' ERPs in the cloud. We can do that with tier 1 and or 2-tier ERPs. I want to thank you for coming to our webinar today. I do hope that we've given you some food for thought and some strategic direction. And if we can be of any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again.